Today's YouTube video is about painting realistic watercolour animal eyes. Now when I'm working on eyes, what I tend to do is build them up in layers. So I've just about finished that side there. This is a red panda, by the way, okay? I want to work on this one at the same time. Now I've already added on just a loose wash, a very weak wash of raw umber. Over the top of that, for the main iris, I've added a colour of burnt sienna and cadmium orange with a little bit of burnt umber in there as well. And just as a background for the highlight, just a small amount of cerulean blue. So that's how to just kind of work the basic wash, the basic colours for this particular eye, okay? So what I'm doing, just building that up as I go along. So let's just get some more colour. We'll go for a bit of burnt umber. Okay, this is where we start to build up the details on there. Let's have a look at that reference photograph. You can just see it in the top corner there. So I'm going to just go around the main outside edge of the eye first of all. It's all about building up in layers, as I say, you know. That's how I tend to work these eyes, or anything that I tend to paint really. Start off light and get darker as you go along. And also you tend to find that if you start off lighter, if you make any little mistakes, or as a great Bob Ross used to say, happy accidents, you find it's easier to kind of fix those mistakes. It really is. You know, depending if you've got obviously paint which stains the paper as well, that can be a little more trickier. So just very carefully picking out and mapping out where things go. By glancing at that photograph every few seconds, my eyes going backward and forward, literally every 2-3 seconds, and that's how I tend to work. Think about where the pupil goes. Now when I look at that on that photograph, you can see it's not dead centre, is it? It's roughly about the centre from the two sides of the main eye, from there to there. It's roughly in the centre there, but from the top to bottom, it's slightly above centre. And also I'm looking at the angle that goes as well. So for example, when you're looking at something like this, with some scrap paper here, look, and you're looking at that sort of shape, the pupil, which it is, isn't it? Look at the angle. So think of a clock face, and that's going roughly, say, towards probably 11 o'clock-ish, isn't it? And that's where I tend to look at things like this. So that's going roughly about 11 o'clock, between probably 11 and 12. Alright, so that's that kind of mapped in there ready. We've also got the top of the eye, which I've already got roughly kind of lined there, as you can see, with a little bit of raw umber. Oh, actually, I used burnt umber saying that for the background. And then also the bottom of the eye as well, around there where all the hairs start to come away from. We've actually got other lines in between, but we'll pull them up as we go along. Okay. So far we've actually got a semi-detailed eye, haven't we? It's not finished yet though. It's not like that one, is it? Not quite. So what I'm going to do, put a few little marks with this burnt umber around the middle of the eye from that pupil. Small tiny lines all the way around. That's plenty. That's all I need. To darken certain areas as well underneath the eye, underneath the eyelid there, look. And a little tip for you as well when you're working from a reference photograph, when you're painting anything, especially eyes, shrink it down to the same size as you're painting. You can zoom into it to look at the details, but the problem when you do that is that you tend to look at too many details. And you try to paint them in a much smaller area, which is nigh impossible sometimes, isn't it? Okay, so now I'm going to go for the darkest colour, and this is going to be a mixture, which I've already made up as you can see, whilst I'm working on this painting, a mixture of Payne's Grey and burnt umber. I want this more of a creamy consistency, because the other colours have been both watery for the background and then milky, as in the consistencies I've been working with. I'm just going to go over the top of these lines now. Now I've got them mapped out. I know where I've got to go. Just over the top and then bring it down here. This area here needs to be filled in. Okay, like that. And then the side for the lower part, do the same again, very carefully, barely touching that paper. So 2 hairs in air, that's all it is, literally. 2 hairs in air. And very thin line just underneath there. I can just about do it. There we go, with the very tip of the brush. 1 hair. Literally one hair, isn't it? Underneath there. Wash that brush out. It's getting a little bit clogged up. Keep washing that brush out as you're working on it, by the way. What else we got? And then we've got, the pupil. Just going to go over that area again. And the other areas, I think, needs just a slightly darker hint of colour in there. A little bit more burnt umber over the top of there as well. So you can see this gradually building up as we go along, can't you? And a little more colour in there. And the same down the bottom as well. These are lovely eyes, aren't they, really, on the red pandas? I'm going to put a few little lines now just inside the highlight. Now, again, I'm going to use literally one hair, if that. No hairs. Just to tap in some tiny, tiny marks just in there. Love it. And then with a mixture of alizarin crimson and our dark colour, remember, Payne's Grey and Burnt Umber, we use that one to go around the very edge of the eye now. So this is going to be for the top and the bottom. So I'm going to literally fill it in to begin with. Like that. Fill it in. The same on the bottom as well. I'm going to leave a gap there, so I need to add a touch of colour in there, like a little bit of cerulean blue. Same on the bottom. Something like that. Rinse the brush out. And then I'm going to very lightly, watch out for any runs on your metal ferrule, by the way, because it's going to run right down there and drip off the tip of your brush. It's not the first time that's happened either. Believe me, I've been doing this for many, many years, but even so, I still do that. I still kind of have that problem. I don't look at it when I rinse that brush out. More colour there. Okay, so far so good. A little bit more of the alizarin crimson, I think, just to warm it slightly. I'll do the same with that one again, just at the top and just at the very bottom of there. Okay, now I want some cerulean blue, or cerulean blue, whichever way you want to say it. I'll pop that in there a lot. And this is going to be for that highlight. And that's the highlight just on the bottom of this eye here. Just a hint of colour in there. And now I need to go for the darkest colour. And this is going to be, again, that Payne's Grey and the Burnt Umber. Water it down a little bit. It's a bit too thick now. Good thing about watercolours as well is that when they dry, you can just reactivate them, you know. Just wake them up, reactivate the paints. That's all you got to do. And then you can reuse that paint. Very simple. Eventually it goes a little bit bitty, I do find that, but it's well worth doing that though, and you know you can reuse that paint if need be. Now around the eye I'm going to stipple, just tiny taps, to add a few little marks in there, around the top, and then down the back, down the side, just to add some extra details in. And eventually when I start working all the fur on this red panda, then you find what I'll do, I'll gradually build up bit by bit, and they'll all join onto the edge of the eyes then as well, which I need them to do. Otherwise the eyes at the moment, the eyes look like they're floating in midair, don't they? And then stipple again down the bottom here. I just want to bring that further down there, I think. Tiny marks. What I'm doing, I'm actually going to pull out a few little lines as well in the direction that the fur grows or goes, which sort of goes more towards, let's say towards 4 o'clock. Around there. And already we have ourselves, well, a fairly looking, detailed, realistic sort of eye, haven't we? But there's one thing we need to do left. What's that then? Do you know what that is? A little bit of a highlight in there. Of course it is. Need a bit of a sparkle. And for that sparkle, I'm going to be using, with a clean brush, give it a good rinse out, a little bit of watercolour white, which is this here though. And I want this to be really creamy as well. You can reactivate the white, but you find it's harder to get a creamy consistency. And this is one I've started reactivating from another day. Alright. So reactivate that white, roll it, pull it away, and here we go. Let's add a little bit of a highlight in there. Now, from the main pupil, which is just here as we know, the highlight is barely visible. It's just about there, around that area. So a small, tiny tap. That's all it takes, like that. Something like that. And then what we've actually got, I can weaken this white down just a fraction, so it's not quite as bright. The weaker the white, the duller it will be. Okay, the duller it will dry. I can add this in now, just every now and then, just a hint of highlight as it comes down for the highlights in the eye. Just a hint here and there, leaving gaps in between to allow for some of that lovely colour to show through. And maybe even down here. And along the bottom of the eyelid as well, barely touching. Like so, and that one there. And that'll give some ideas how I would approach painting an eye. So for more ideas, I did get that, no pun intended. So for more ideas on how to paint animals as well, have a look at that video to the top right hand corner, okay? Enjoy the videos and I'll see you there.